your entire life. Take every moment that you have and treat it like it's special, because it is, because life is precious. Your opportunities are precious, and they're not always going to be there. So if you're thinking about, oh, do I got to get up and go to work today? Okay, maybe you do. But there are people right now that would love to be able to get to go to work today. They're looking for a job. Today is their day. Somebody is going to get a job today, and they are going to walk in, and they are going to radiate sunshine and sparkle throughout the entire room. They're going to change everybody else's life for the better because they're natural leaders, and they're going to get to walk into that room today and make a difference. Today, we're going to make a difference in Richmond. All right. I got lots of things to get to today on the program. Let's see. Where am I going to go first? Oh, I do want to recap something we talked about yesterday on the program, and that's Scott Bessent and what exactly he's going to do. So now we have a better idea of what Operation Economic Outcast is going to be. So I want to make sure that you all understand, as I understand this. So I did a lot of research. We talked about it yesterday. You get who Scott Bessent is. He is the Darth Vader of the financial markets. He brought down the British pound. He helped take a huge bite out of the yen. He knows how to find the pressure points in currency and markets and economies, and he has made billions of dollars over the years in the financial industry, in the financial markets, by taking down entire economies. Now he's going to be unleashed on Iran, and he announced Operation Economic Outcast yesterday. He said, anybody who does business, we are going to shut them down. You will not be able to use the dollar. You won't be able to use the U.S. banking industry, and you will be cast out from the rest of the world. So your choice is either you run with Iran or you run with us, but we're not going to let anybody else go to the dark corners, the gray areas. All of that's getting cut off. And I thought it was interesting because he talked about aviation. He talked about the ghost fleets. He talked about all these little gray areas that people can say one thing, do another. They really aren't forthcoming and honest. They're duplicitous. He says, we're not going to put up with any of that. And we are going to use the full arm of the Treasury and the State Department and the U.S. military, and we are going to make sure that none of that goes on anymore. So I wanted to see something, couple things. And I was watching this, and I tweeted it out when the press conference was going on. And he put out two things. He said, number one, the Oval Office was right now working the phones. It's Donald Trump, it's Marco Rubio, it's other administration officials reaching out to their counterparts saying, okay, here's the level set, meaning this is the new norm. This is where we're going. This is what we're doing. You do business with them, you're done. You do business with them, you're done doing business with us. We will cut you off from our markets. We will cut you off from the dollar. You will be a pariah just the same way that Iran's about to become a pariah. That's why I told you Friday, the Iranian president said, well, maybe we should back off a little bit. We've won this war already. Maybe we should come to the negotiating tables. The RGC told him no, and that's why Scott Bessent is unleashing Operation Economic Outcast. So right now, number one, they're level setting with all the important nations that do business with Iran. He's telling them right now, here's the new rules. Either you obey them right away, or you will face the same wrath that Iran has. And again, we talked about yesterday, why does Iran say that they're winning the war when obviously their navy's in the bottom of the ocean? They don't have an air force. The U.S. has air superiority, and we can bomb anywhere, any place, anytime that we want. Because for the United States, we're looking at this as a conventional fight with Iran, take down the regime, destroy their military, destroy their navy, cripple them, and we call that victory because that's traditional victory in warfare. For the Iranians, they're looking at it differently through their point of view. They know they're not going to be able to defeat the United States conventional. They know they can't take on. If the Marines step foot there, they would overrun the country. If the Army came in, if the rest, they know there's no way the IRGC could ever stand up to the U.S. conventional forces. But for them, every day that they're still in power is a victory because they've stood up to the great Satan as they look at it. And for every day that they still survive, that's a victory in their book. That's why they can walk around, and the IRGC spokesman and the head of their parliament and all the rest of those officials can say, we're winning the war. because every day that they're not toppled, they consider it a victory from their point of view. But one of the things I wanted to look at yesterday was what's going to happen to the price of oil and what's going to happen to crypto. So I wanted to bring you this morning. Oil right now is down 2.3%. It fell off $2 yesterday while Scott Bessent was making his announcement. So Brent crude, which is the benchmark that everybody uses, down 2.35% to 92 barrels a gallon, dollars. Let me say that again, $92 a barrel. West Texas fell to $85 a barrel. That's kind of what we look at. Down overnight, roughly another 2.5%. So traders are looking at this economic sanctions less likely to disrupt oil supplies than having immediate military action. So the markets are reacting favorably to this. Remember, 20% of the oil used to come through. Right now, they're getting some ships through. And if you listen to us for a while, that's why we say listen to Richmond's Morning News or play catch up all day. Strait of Hormuz. There is 3 miles in the middle of the Strait of Hormuz, which is basically the navigable waterway before all this started. On the Iranian side, there was one that would go in, and on the Oman side, I think there was one that was coming out, or vice versa. Anyway, there's one way in. It's a mile-long stretch of navigable passageway, international passageway, that all the ships would use to get in and out of that part of the world. One goes in, it's a mile wide. One comes out, it's a mile wide, and there's a mile in the middle that is the buffer zone between the two, like the medium. The yellow line in between the two that you can't cross. That way you keep the ships and they don't run into each other. The side closest to the Iranians right now is not being used because that's the one that they threaten the most. What the United States Navy has done is they've taken the side closest to Oman, and they've made that now a two-way navigable waterway, and they're escorting through with the might of the U.S. Navy, and ships are now using, instead of the 1 mile in, 1 mile out, and the 1 mile in the middle, which was your buffer zone. Now they're using the 1 mile wide swath of the ships coming to and fro, and that's how they're getting shipping in and out. Not nearly what we had before, but it's starting to pick up. And then there's other ways that people have found out. I mean, the market is always going to be able to find a way to do something. And now through pipelines and other means, they're getting the oil out of there. And that whole choke point that the Iranians have had when this started, 20% of the oil is actually down to 2% of the oil coming through there. And now alternative routes bringing the oil out of there. So between that and the United States blockade, and now this, where they'll be, and the most important statement for me was no leakage, meaning I'm not going to have third parties. I'm not going to have ghost ships. I'm not going to have something, here is, for instance, and we started talking about the ghost ships months ago. I would take a tanker out of Tehran, or out of the ports in Iran. I put them out in the middle of the ocean. Then I have another tanker come up next to them. I transfer the oil from one tanker to the other. The second tanker is laundered. It's clean. It can go sell that oil whatever it wants. And then all of a sudden, boom, now they're able to smuggle their oil out. All of that is getting shut down, including those ghost fleets. The other thing I wanted to look at was crypto. Crypto rose Monday. And if you just look at Bitcoin, it's up another 2% today. Bitcoin's rallying before Bessent's Iranian announcement, largely because the dollar weakens and the Treasury bonds market moves. So crypto is moving up because a lot of people are going to try to get around some of these sanctions using crypto. Something interesting to know, last Friday in the White House, the president had somebody in from one of the big crypto, RXP, RPX, something like that, had him in the White House, which tells me they're also going to start looking at the crypto market to make sure that Iran's not going to be able to try to have any kind of economic breathing room through cryptocurrency. So you want to talk about the D-Day that Donald Trump's promised and Scott Bessent has delivered? Yesterday was D-Day when it comes to destroying the Iranian economy. 3 options for the president: boots on the ground, walk away, or do this. He chose the latter. We'll see what happens. You want to comment? Please, 833-804-1140, 833-804-1140. Coming up on the program, I don't like the Little League World Series. I'm going to tell you why coming up next on News Radio WRVA Today's program is brought to you in part by our pals at Men's